Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. And it is 11:24 on Saturday, August 30th. We're almost done with August. And we are probably about, that's a nut. Um, we're probably about, I don't know, 30-ish, 40% of the way towards having like the update part of the CRUD working. As we've kind of moved into this update part, we've started to like really hit some architectural sort of disconnects or missing pieces or needs that weren't there yet. Needs that didn't we didn't have the need and we didn't have it. So it's sort of like kind of a bummer because it'd be cool to just like have be able to do cool UI visualization stuff, but we can't because we could, but the thing is um, well we can always do that in the future, right? You can start adding cool sort of side things, but these sort of foundational changes that are sort of exposing themselves during this phase of the software development cycle, you can't really change those in the future. They get harder and harder to change. So it's kind of a bummer because we keep getting sort of, I don't know, messed up in this, or sort of like we just can't get momentum. But it's good because we're sort of moving this through this really slow, so we can be like, okay, now why do I need to do this, and really think through it. What would be good is over time if like our different sorts of things that we have up here, components and interfaces and services. See, I think that's nice, right? Like that's kind of what we want. Um, we have components, interfaces, and services. We've got sort of this top component that's at the top, and then we have other components. We have all the interfaces and all the services, which to me, doesn't quite feel right. Kind of feels like this app should be inside of components, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. Um, what would feel really good is if I open this and open this and they were the same, but they're not. And so it does make sense to kind of maybe try to figure out now that I guess I should take a step back. So, basically, we have an add. So that's create. And you can see it. So we have read. So that's the C and the R in CRUD. And then we have delete. So that's the D. That's delete. And what we're trying right now is um, to uh, get update working. Now, for the first time, and I noticed that like I could have sworn when I set up my deletes and stuff that we recycled IDs. So I'm a little disappointed to see that this um, update is 10 because I think that's an indicator that we may not be deleting something we're supposed to be deleting, because it seems like when we did update, once we delete and we go back and we create a new one, that it should be one. I do not want to try to run down that bug at this moment, but I do think that is a bug. Um, but and I would like to get that resolved before we're done with this. But right now we're like sort of um, trying to work that out. So basically, the next step in like components for the CRUD would be to build out the component that's going to be rendered here. But before we do that, we sort of I realized, oh man, I don't really have a good way of sort of showing data on the UI that I need to show. So it was like, okay, so this would be a good time to sort of go another layer down and start going at the sort of communication level, like how do these things communicate? And I didn't really have a communication scheme. So I started to build out a communication scheme. And then this morning, while I was waiting for like everything to get going, I started kind of poking around, and I noticed that I have this service called visualization. and I don't really have an interface that sort of matches up with that. I also have this service called UI, um, and I also have a utility service. And I was like, oh, is utilities kind of the same as base? And it was just kind of like bringing me to those sorts of questions. And I feel like those are questions that need to be that it'll be easiest. It won't be easy, but it'll be the easiest to get resolved at this stage in the game. Um, and in my mind, like I'm 57 years old, and one of my goals in life is to something I would like to accomplish is to still be a um, a professional computer programmer at 100, and as long as there's my cat, um, is and I think that if I were to make it to 100 and be a professional computer programmer, I have a kind of a job that could possibly that could be a thing because I work for the state of Georgia. So these sort of government jobs, they really do judge you based on like your understanding of the domain, and so the state of Georgia is clearly going to be around, and they will have a domain. They have a domain that like if you have 30 or 40 years worth of knowledge is very if that's a valuable thing. So there's the cat. Um, but so I'm pretty excited about that. But it would be amazing if I was still. So in my mind, the range is 30 years from now. Like I would love to still be working on this project, doing these videos in 30 years when I'm 87 years old. That would be cool. And it would be like, what kind of stuff would we be able to do? And so these early days, it's just like in those days, there'd probably be absolutely no possibility of doing a foundational change like this. If we wanted to do a foundational change, we probably need to start from scratch again. Um, Probably, maybe we could have some sort like if Angular ever really takes Angular elements and web components and stuff seriously, maybe we'd be able to export some components and be able to reuse them. But the state of the way coding in existing frameworks works now, this really is not. It really would need to be like a full rebuild if in the future if I decided I wanted to sort of line things up. So anything I can do now probably will save a lot of pain and suffering in the future. Um, the Kiwi is not. That's the cat. She has not gotten to hang out with Rhett in a long time. Because we got a new husky about 3 months ago, and the cats were terrified of the husky, and so they would only stay back in our bedroom. And now they're finally starting to sort of explore and come out and stuff. Um, but so so anyway, so we got down another level, and we're like, oh, we need communications. And so when I was poking around in here, I saw that in visualization, I sort of implemented some sort of, was it in visualization? No. Um, Must have been in UI. In UI, I had started to build out some sort of publishing scheme that uh, uses signals, and it's probably really good. Whatever I did there, but it probably would be nice if there was like a services publish that's sort of like the way everything else is. Um, or I guess UI, if UI had its own separate publish, the way three has a publish and ST has a publish. So there's that. But um, once I started doing that, I was like, oh man, I really need to publish like types, and I would love to just be able to publish like dictionaries of primitives, because primitives are just a lot easier to um, interact with than objects in some ways. Um, Especially when you're like looking for changes and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, so I need to go down another level, and then I went down and I started creating these types. So in the ST has dictionaries, and if you go in here, you see that um, we have like this calculated aspect ratio dictionary. And then it was like, well, but it would be nice if you could just, when you look at the interface, if you could see what the lookup is, because it's going to be kind of tricky. So this would put me only two away from seeing, because some right now it's pretty straightforward because it's the number, but in the future there'll probably be all kinds of different types of dictionaries. The key I would expect will always be a number, but the value will probably become. So we created these base types, which are in here and there. And I feel like this, well, there is one more layer down we could go, but I just don't see any value in that, but because we could create like what they call not an anonymous, but like where you tell it the kind of thing it is and it's going to be that they use a T in there, and we could create one like a little lower saying that, hey, there's a dictionary and it has a number and some other thing. But I just don't see any value about that getting that much lower on the totem pole. So now we have our calculated ratio dictionary, and this is our interfaces, right? So we have a specific dictionaries thing, and now that I look at this, I'm like, oh man, is that doesn't even make sense, because it seems like dictionaries. Well, no, okay, so these are the dictionaries for ST. So there will be dictionaries inside of here too, and uh, and we're talking interfaces, which is sort of like it'll have dictionaries, and then I guess in the services we'll have a publisher, and that'll publish these dictionaries, and then inside of three we also have a publisher, and that will publish these dictionaries, right? But we don't have any dictionaries in there yet. So let's see where we've gotten to in the three publisher. Okay, so we do have a service, and all it does is publish that. So back up a little bit higher, what I want to do is I want whenever three actually assigns an aspect ratio to a visualization to a camera, I want that actual ratio to show up here. And so then we'll know that everything seems to be right, but also we'll know that we have a way to effectively publish what is actually happening in three. And just as like kind of a side note, yesterday I was I was watching my video from yesterday, and I moved this three interface out because I was like, I need a three that's higher, and then I was like, when I moved, I was hoping it would just fix all my imports for me. I'm so glad that failed. When I was watching that later, I was like, oh gosh, thank goodness that didn't succeed, because I didn't actually want to do it. I'd forgotten that, no, this is the three doppelgangers. So these are like sort of any that kind of matches up and then sort of smooths out whatever the difference is between. This is a way so that I can stay consistent on the ST side and then handle any kind of inconsistencies in the three side. So this is my sanity brain, and then this is my insanity brain. This is my brain that I handle things that are like that aren't consistent, that don't make sense, and stuff like that. This is where all my edge cases get handled, is inside of this side of the house here, the three side of the house. In the future, we'll probably have like a we'll probably have a physics engine, but I don't know if a physics engine is anything more than an animation system. Like, is it just so maybe it belongs inside of the animation, but we'll also probably have a music thing, and that music thing probably will be a standalone thing like three. It'll be its own thing that handles interacting with music. Because honestly, like animations without music are like music makes animations literally 10 times better. So it would be kind of crazy not to get that um, shoehorned into here, or architecturally stabilized into there. But so I think what we need here inside of I guess we should start. You never know where to start. There's always a lot of good places, but I guess we should start in dictionaries, in the interfaces. Oh, and we don't have an interface yet, so um, interfaces are probably the one thing that I don't. That sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I'm a little bit inconsistent on whether I use the CLI or whether I just do it because literally all it does is create a single file. So let's see how we did this one. This is weird. Oh, okay, so I never moved it over. Um, are we in the app? Oh, we are in interfaces. So I want those base dictionary interfaces, so they must be over here. Oh yeah, so I want those to be. Oh, okay, I want this base dicts dictionaries to be over here, not here, because the base are used by all the different things. And anything you could do to sort of make it easier to sort of just understand the architecture of the application really pays dividends. But so I'm going to drag this guy up there and hope that I'm going to close every tab and hope that it fixes my um, my code for me. So let's do that. Are you sure you want into dictionary? I kind of wish it gave a little bit more of a, but that seems right. A little bit more of the path. Now it should ask me if I want to fix the imports because I know I'm using it. It did not. That's weird. All right. Very inconsistent. Um, oh, yes. Now it's offering to fix it. Okay. So now let's see if I hit save. Okay, we still have something broken, it looks like. So I'm going to hold the control button down and push this button. That does not seem right. Okay, that's weird. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to kill that. Oh, and we probably don't even want to be in that view. So let's just get out of that route. And I definitely want to figure out why when I deleted it, uh, the the ID didn't get recycled, and um, so since the ID didn't get recycled, I didn't. It used like 10 for the new ID instead of one. I've also kind of gone through sort of a like the last week has been pretty 10 has been last 10 days or so have been pretty traumatic for me from a coding perspective because like a bunch of like new ideas have just entered my head that should have been very obvious. Okay, so this is complaining this dictionary, which is a calculated dictionary, which is in fact coming in. See, I'm pretty sure that's not the right place. Oh no, that is the right place. So the only thing that should have changed was this guy right there. And that's right. I do not understand what's going on. Uh, all right. So here we are. It's complaining about something in layout component.html. This is just, oh, okay. So this is when it was, I don't know what is happening right here. This is weird. So we started doing this, like kind of taking this directly into the and put it straight on the template because we started getting the expression changed error. Um, I'm gonna remove this for the moment. Yeah, this is really strange. Like moving that one base interface is just bizarre that now it has all these problems. Because it really was only being imported into one place. Hit reuse. Okay. So I'm just going to undo that, put that back in, because that is obviously not the problem. All right, let's read this. Okay, so element is explicitly. So it's saying that on line 20 of our publisher, ST publisher service, we have this is saying that aspect ratio right here is implicitly any. That's what it's saying. Okay, so I'm going to take this. I'm just going to comment those out, just see if the problems go away. So I just don't even know what to do. Okay, cannot find module-based dictionary. Okay, so this is the one I think is our problem. So I'm going to undo I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to hit back so we can undo that change so I don't forget it. Control Z, undo our change, save that. Go forward back to where we were. Oh, this never saved. That is one of the most annoying things, I think. Sometimes one of the most annoying inconsistencies in, I'm pretty sure this is I don't know, there's no telling, but it's probably a Visual Studio Code issue, but it could possibly be like a bug in the thing. Somehow Visual Studio Code and the TypeScript compiler or the Angular compiler seem to be able to communicate with each other, and something seems to be off in that communication. But that did not solve all my problems. I think we're back to the same issue, so I'm going to kill this again, restart it, sort of look at this thing. What is your problem? Okay, so we're back to complaining about the component, and this is saying that it's still saying that element, so element is a very vague word that can mean just about anything. Oh, did it compile? Oh, it did compile that time. All right, so that was just some weirdness in the compiler, transpiler, Angular communication scheme. So what did we want to do next? So we kind of got really sidetracked there. So we moved that dictionary into the base dictionary. So now we're back to the publisher service, but not the publish one, not the ST one, the 3 one. And so you're looking in here, if you're just coding, right, at the ground level, you're not going to be confused, I don't think. I think you're going to know that you're publishing from 3 because it says 3 publisher service. You kind of have to think through those things, right? Because it's possible that when you decide when you're coding directly, if you were to name all these kind of the same thing or a very generic name or something like that, they might be very difficult to wrap your mind around what's happening. But we know that we want to have a type. Oh yeah, I remember, man, this is like the movie Groundhog Day where we're back to the beginning again. And we know, so we decided we wanted to do that 3 publisher service to be a lot like ST publisher service. So let's see if we name that properly. Yeah, ST publisher service. And they have a calculated AR dictionary, which is of a type of a calculated aspect ratio dictionary. So we want to do something along those lines here. And that goes before the constructor. But we don't want it to be calculated aspect ratio dictionary. We want it to be calculated, we want it to be actual. I guess we should call it 3. Yeah, we should call it 3 because if we ever add anything else where, like, I don't know. I don't know what else we might possibly add. But if we were to ever add anything else that aspect ratio is relevant to, we would want to be able to differentiate them. We probably won't ever have anything else, but this will be a good for us to copy when we do when we create our next property that we want to show that's from 3. We're going to want to be able to tell that, oh, this is the 3 width. Oh, this is the physics engines width. Oh, this is the, because it's possible that, like, in our physics engine, maybe we might say, oh, we want this box to be a little bit bigger in the physics engine so that it bounces faster or something like that. Like, who knows why, but we may want to some other thing for their width of the same object to be a little bit different. So anyways, 3 aspect ratio dictionary, which does not exist. And if it ever existed, it will exist in the interface for 3 dictionaries. So we want to create a new interface. So we know that this is the one time that this is the one thing that I'm not super consistent on how I create these things. I'm not going to use the CLI this time. And I'm going to call this 3. So everything in here will probably start with the word 3. And not because, and that is redundant. And I could see some people in some PRs being like, we already know it's 3 because we're in the 3 thing. But I think for the coder's experience, that word 3, when you're looking at the module import, having that word 3 in there will save you time instead of having like the same name and having to rename it or something like that. So 3 aspect ratio -dict.ts. And then basic, it's going to be almost identical to this one. We're going to import the number dictionary, and the path to it should be the same, even though we're in a different directory. But over here, we're going to name it 3 aspect ratio dictionary. And then over here in the publish service, nope, wrong publish service. So, and I should have looked, oh, this is the ST publish service. In the 3 publish service, and we should be able to, yeah, have a blue thing, and then it can import it. And then I typically put a line in between there. And so we've done the first part where we have a private 3 AR dictionary. And that's of type 3 aspect ratio dictionary. So even if AR kind of throws you for a loop, like literally just look here and you can see that we're talking about the aspect ratio. All right, so I don't know if we have a constructor over there in our ST publish service. So I'm already starting to get comfortable, right? I see that, okay, this is my ST publisher service. Okay, so we create a signal next. So I'm going to copy that. And I was curious about a constructor. So I do have an empty constructor. And probably makes sense to leave it because we probably will need a constructor at some point. That's like a lot of people's favorite thing to talk about in PRs is the constructor. We don't need this constructor. All right, so signal comes from Angular core. So I'm just going to type in signal here. And then this is a 3 aspect ratio dictionary that we are going to send. And then this 3AR dictionary, which exists there. So basically we have our object that is private. Now private is a little bit tricky because I'm pretty sure that when this signal fires off, it actually sends an actual instance of this. So whatever is listening. Now I believe if we use like calculated, like so we could add another line of code and create a different one and publish the calculated one, and then it wouldn't have then you would, I don't think it would send an actual copy of that dictionary reference to this dictionary. I don't know. I may grow to not want that. It wouldn't surprise me if like 3 years from now or 4 years from now, if we're still working on this code, if Angular says, you know, we're no longer supporting 3, or we're moving away from signals, not 3, but signal, and we want you to do this now instead. And if I have to somehow try to figure out how to refactor the signal into whatever the new thing is, who knows? There's just no telling what they'll do. They typically do the right thing, but it's fascinating to watch the live streams from Angular because and it's interesting because they only get like 250 likes, and it's just kind of like the community is not as, sometimes the community is a lot bigger than you think it is, and sometimes it's much smaller than you think it is, and I guess it just depends on what's happening. But anyways, so I think there's one last part of this. So we're going to go to the ST publisher service, and then go in here, and we're going to create a function called set calculated aspect ratio. And finally, even the slightest momentum. It's been like every single time we do anything, it's okay. So do we I think we're still going to publish this by st renderer ID. I think. I don't know. So inside of 3, we have a camera. And see, the camera is where the actual work gets done. And see, it gets an ID. I'm pretty sure this is the ST ID. So we do have some sort of gap now that I think about it, because where is it? Set aspect ratio. Well, see, this is kind of a bummer because this guy does not know the he knows what the camera is, but doesn't know what the STID is. And I think I think it's important. I could see why I didn't do it. I'm pretty sure both of these things. ID. I'm pretty sure this. Let's go to create camera and see what. Let's see. Find anything that is using create camera. So this is when it creates it. And oh, so he has his own camera ID. Ooh, lordy. Right, because it has its own little dictionary. So that's kind of a bummer. I wouldn't even call it a miss. I would call it a bummer, because whatever is calling this set aspect ratio, set the set let's see, 3 camera ratio for ST render ID. So somehow we're gonna have to get the ST render ID to this, and I don't know how we're gonna do that. And then I'm gonna change this to 3. So I don't know if you're with me or you're not with me at this point, or if anyone's even watching this video, but the problem is the entity, the function that sets the aspect ratio in the actual ThreeJS camera is unaware of what the ST renderer ID is. It technically it would be fairly straightforward to send it. It has its own ID, a camera ID, but really for our UI, we don't really care about what the camera ID is in this thing. We might actually um, um, so we may actually want to like there'll probably be other views that we'll have in the future where we'll actually want the actual camera ID. But this time we want the renderer ID. So now we got to try to come up with like a clever way to get the renderer ID up. But we do have enough information here and we're here. So we might as well finish this off um, and then figure out, okay, now how do we put together the information so that this, like where is the proper place to put this? Maybe we need a render, like maybe we need another function where we do set aspect ratio for camera ID, because getting the camera ID probably won't be that bad. um, and then passing that in, it probably knows what the correct camera ID is, but maybe not. Maybe it knows what the render ID is. We'll have to do it. We'll have to figure that out as the time comes. But um, calculated, where am I? Okay, I'm in the 3. Okay, so I screwed this up. This should be 3 aspect ratio. I feel like this is too big over here. 3 aspect ratio, and then this should be 3 aspect ratio. And then I did just call this new shallow copy of the AR directory. I'm going to say 3 AR dictionary, and then this. And I guess the only reason I'm making this comment is because shallow. It's a shallow copy. That's the thing the person needs to understand. Dictionary. So we store in here. We store the aspect ratio by the renderer ID, which makes sense. And then we want to publish it. And then apparently we copied an extra. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now we have this, but we have a new problem. And the new problem is that the thing in 3 has no idea what the ST renderer ID is. And so we've got to figure out hopefully we can figure out a really good way that makes a lot of sense to get the renderer ID to whatever it is that's doing the publish. Um, or I don't know, not exactly sure. Because see, so what's going to happen down the road probably is I'll have a list of cameras, and I think a camera, I don't know though, I believe a ThreeJS camera can be reused in multiple renderers. And if that's the case, and that could be kind of cool, because you're changing, um, if it's the same camera, then, you'd be changing the effect identically in maybe you have the same camera looking at two different meshes, and you and you're changing the aspect ratio on the two of them side by side and seeing what different effects you have or whatever, who knows. But so at some point we'll probably actually want to update the 3 aspect ratio for a camera, and that may be actually changing multiple render IDs. Um, that is a bridge that may never come, or will likely be much easier to figure out in the future. I could try to figure it out here, kind of like that other thing, that other publish that I implemented. Now it's just like, crap. Okay, I got to unwind that publish so I can try to stay consistent. Um, but as you move forward, it's it really is quite often one step forward, two steps back. Sometimes it's two steps forward and one step back. But it doesn't. It's not a linear straight line, and to me that's the biggest problem with uh, um, agile and velocity and all that, is they expect a linear sort of growth, and that's just insane. Or maybe they used to, anyways. Who knows? Who knows how they've changed the wording and all that. Although I did see on LinkedIn some guy complaining that because of agile, QA is gone now, which was, that blew my mind, that somehow in some place they they decided to get rid of QA as a result of something they heard in agile, which I think also goes to show that honestly, agile sort of people, professionals, will tell you whatever you want to hear, and they'll basically come up with whatever words they need to tell you to make you happy. Um, so I don't really think they are what they claim to be. But anyway, so we're gonna, and I misspelled that, 3 aspect ratio, and then the current place I work, they're trying to add agile practices and stuff. What's really nice about this place is they try it. They'll try something. They'll say, okay, we're gonna try this, and then like if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then they go, okay, we're gonna tweak it and try it again. Okay, we're gonna tweak this and try it again. They don't just go, okay, I read in a book that this works, so we're gonna do it. Like they don't have that mentality. But a lot of places say, oh well, in my whole life, every time I've ever heard the velocity, everybody talked about it was smart. So obviously, whatever this person that says velocity is saying is true. But so anyways, so now I have my 3 aspect that's in my 3 publisher service. But the problem is that if I go into my services and I go to my 3 service and I go to my camera, it has no idea what the um, what the STID is. So I'm not exactly sure. I would actually, this would be a fun one to talk to my boss about, because he really enjoys like a lot of different object orientated um, concepts and stuff like that. And it'd be interesting to say, is this something that should, like how should we implement, like do implements and have some other thing that knows how to get the STID. The problem is I suspect in the future there'll be more than one STID for a given aspect, given camera, but maybe not. But we will definitely run into that use case for something where it's like I know we're gonna have like meshes where you have the same mesh and it's showing in like 5 different STs. It's STID. And I'm starting to get really sold on the idea of the STID, because STID is the thing it's in. So we might, yeah. So anyways, maybe we can have a lot of fun thinking about different ways to do that. But anyways, I'm going to go back to this and set. Okay, so this time I want to find the set aspect ratio. Sorry, Sean. I always add the N there. That is so crazy. So over here is where we set. It's inside of the camera service. Camera service does not know. Is that the one I'm looking at? Are we in 3 right now? Yes, we're in 3. So this is where it's happening. It's in the ST renderer service. So the ST renderer service definitely knows what the renderer ID is. So I guess we can just do this. And I don't know if this is the best way to do this. But I think we have no choice. I think we have to pass in. Well, does the key 3 camera? So I don't think a 3. Oh, so it is actually a 3 perspective camera. So that definitely does not. This is an object that the 3 organization, whoever builds and maintains 3JS, this is their actual camera object. So and we did in fact move that code into ST camera. So let's go ahead and get rid of this very, very annoying thing. So basically we are going to the 3 camera service and we are passing it, and we are also sending it along. And I wonder if we should send it the whole ST object, a reference to the whole ST object so that it can just get whatever it wants off of there, or if we should just send it the ID. I think we're just going to send it the ID for now, but let's see, I must be using it, right? Yeah, ST renderer ID. Now, like, this does not feel right, like, but I don't think it's that bad. Um, but it doesn't feel right because it's like the camera really, especially on the 3 side, really shouldn't know what the ST renderer ID is. It really shouldn't know that or care. But for communication purposes, it would probably be very helpful if I'm saying, hey, for this renderer ID, I want you to set this aspect ratio. Now, again, that could be interesting because if we have, let's say we're looking at this situation right here. We have 3, and let's say they're all using the same camera. Now, I know on the ST side, we're going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to say, hey, this one camera is being used in all 3 of these. Well, that means if I change the aspect ratio for this one, I'm also changing the aspect ratio for this one and this one too. So somehow I'm going to have to manage that combination. Now, I don't know if that's, maybe that'll never become a thing for camera. I think it will, but let's say it doesn't. Like the width of these, like, will definitely be something. Like I could be looking at all 3 of these with 3 different cameras, but I'm looking at the same mesh, but from different angles. That situation will 100% exist. And I will have to say, oh, if I'm changing this width, I'm also changing this width and this width. And it may matter, it may not. I don't know. But so we did this. I'm going to hit save and just let the transpiler help me. Hit me. Okay, so I held the control button. It just took me to where I was at. I guess actually that was a mistake. What I should have done is I should have gone here and go to, and this is where you get kind of confused if you're working in C#, because implementation and definition means something a little different over there. Okay, so I'm going to ST render ID, and I believe the ST render ID is the same as the ST ID, but I'm not 100% sure on that, and I don't know if it'll stay that way. Okay, so this is the one we're actually doing. So so now what we want to do is we want to inject our new 3 publisher. And so we are not injecting anything right now, so we're just going to type in inject right now, right here. And then we're going to say, I don't know if I can, how well I can do this from memory. I think we typically put private, but I don't know. And we are taking our 3 publisher, and this is our actual instance, so it's lowercase, and uppercase 3 publisher service. So we'll update that, and it brought it in for me. Let's go ahead and put, I think I usually like doing this like this, but I don't know. Let's see. And then we're going to say equals, and we're going to use the inject function, and we know it's a function because it's lowercase, and that's just a standard. And then 3 publisher service. And then we're going to say three publisher service down here. And we got to put the word this in front of it. And then we're going to say publish. Set. Okay, that's. I feel like that should say publish, but I guess we're saying publisher rated. And then we're going to give it a st renderer ID, and we're going to give it our aspect ratio. And we call it aspect, and I don't know why. I don't think that helps us at all. So let's go add our ratio to the end of that. One of my favorite things that I've heard, some guy wrote a book, a very, very famous computer programmer. I can't remember what it's called, but and one of the things he said is, I guess in the Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts, they have a saying which just says, always leave the campsite better than you found it. And he said that's sort of the same way with the code. And that's all that was all about, was just like, hey, you know, it'd be a little bit better if it was ratio instead of aspect. So now let's save, and we are publishing our aspect ratio. So now let's go back over here to our we have different components, if I remember correctly, and we have an app layout component, and we are putting it right on the top there like that, and we are doing it like this because it's stupid, and it we get a crazy error whenever we do it. And let's just make sure that page isn't broken, and make sure that everything before we, because it has been a while since we checked in on the console. So that's good. We'll add a viz, and then we'll come over here and we'll update our viz. Everybody's happy. And let's go back over here so that when we reload, we don't get this uncomfortable thing. All right, so now in our TypeScript, we just want to, I think all we need to do is import our, okay, we need to bring in our 3 publisher service. So any information that gets updated in 3 that we want outside of 3 needs to go through this publisher service. And this is the pattern that we have created for ourselves. So it did, apparently it brought it in for us and imported it for us itself, and I do like where it brought it in, and it appears to be the correct one. It's always good to double check that. All right. So now in our three publisher service, we're going to come over here. I thought that was the whole darn point to using signals, is to kind of, one of the points was that you would get behind this, like it times out the way the screen gets updated, so you don't have to worry as much about that error, but I guess not. That's kind of like the error that just keeps coming back. My feeling is that it's probably dot it's probably like it's probably for Google, they have massive numbers of applications and stuff like that, and that's probably like a good smell test for them, um, to find out if something's broken. But man, does it make life miserable for us, just normal developers. Okay, so something is, oh, did I not save? Three published, did you mean S? No, I meant this. Oh, see, it's not saved. That little white dot, that gets me all the time. All right. And that's good. All right, so that is good. I think that was a like huge, like I think I probably started that like last Saturday, and it was like one, now that the, if we have to do something like that in the future, like it took like a whole week this time. If we ever have to do it in the future, it'll probably take, I mean, I don't really know, but I think it'll probably take like 10 minutes. So something that used to take a week because we've laid out the infrastructure and the architecture, from here on out will take like 10 minutes. So 90-year-old Marty hopefully can do this exact same thing in like 2 minutes, um, instead of it taking a whole week. Um, and I think there'll be thousands of these properties that we want to show, so that we're going to want access to. So like, you know, maybe without that, it would have taken an hour or 2 hours. You know, we'd have done this in a session or two. But now, um, for thousands, like it's going to take uh, less than, you know, it's going to take way under an hour. You know, so we probably save massive amounts of time over the lifetime of this application, assuming that the application survives. So right now, what we have is, um, we have our three and our ST publishing. Now, I guess we need to kind of, I don't know. I was thinking that maybe I should add another publisher, right, um, S, you know, for the configured or the ST AR dictionary, and then do a set and all that, and sort of start to scale it out. But honestly, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I do think that the idea that we're going to have 1,000 different set aspect ratios, um, doesn't make sense. And maybe it'll make sense. Maybe it makes sense. I kind of learned about a brand new concept this week. It's not brand new, but I never really used it. Of like maybe of like base classes and extending the base class, um, so that everyone has like a set, but we name it, like the basic part of this is the same, but I don't know how that would work with signals and all that. So I'm not going to. But I do think the idea that, um, every, like there, and it will end up being 1,000 setters and 1,000 signals and all that in here, probably is not actually feasible. Um, I wonder if this would be, this is the last thing I'm going to do today. I'm just going to take this code here, and I'm just going to paste it in Chat GPT and get its opinion on what I should do going forward. I'm not going to do whatever it says, but at the moment, I'm just curious. So this Angular service, and I think there may be thousands, maybe hundreds of signals. The future thoughts. The right way here. A few observations. Signal. So the current design, you have one signal holding a dictionary. Consumers can subscribe to this signal. Pros scales better. Pros of this pattern scales better than hundreds of signals. If you add a separate signal number for each render, you'd be managing a massive number of signals, subscriptions, and memory overhead. A dictionary inside of one signal avoids that. So I don't want that. Batch updates possible. So these are pros. Angular, okay. Cons. Any change emits the whole dictionary. Oh, okay. So yeah. Oh, this was a pattern that it was offering. Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm a little bit confused. I think it's saying that I could have expose per key selector. Only what they care about. Okay, so this is actually what my plan was. Mutable dictionary enforcement. Dictionary in one signal pattern scales much better than hundreds of individual. Oh, okay, so they want me to make one big dictionary for that. So I just don't. I thought about that. One, like, big dictionary, one dictionary for every attribute. But I don't. But I want subscribers to be able to subscribe to individual properties. Not have to go through the object to determine if the property it cares about changed. You want components to have to dig through a big object every time just to see if they're on property shade. That's a really good instinct, because while one dictionary signal is simple, it causes all subscribers to recompute when anything changes, even if the property they care about didn't change. Computed selectors per key. You can still keep the dictionary as a source of truth, so you don't end up with hundreds of raw signals floating around, but expose per property signals via computed. That seems like a really good idea. So basically we have our calculated get aspect. I don't know. I don't even understand that. Usage. Option 2, dynamic signals per property. You can simply manage them in a dictionary of signals. Okay, this one I think might be the ticket. So it's, I think what it's saying, a dictionary signals. I'm having a hard time reading this. I don't know why. It's probably me, but it's saying that this is a dictionary of signals, which then makes, I don't know. I don't think, now that I think about it. Oh, so then when you subscribe to this get signal. So you're saying get ratio signal. So the consumer just says, okay, it calls this one function and it says which one it wants. I guess that's what it's saying. What this is saying, and that's that. Yeah, I'm not sure because basically as is right now. Let's say I wanted to do the configured or st, right? It would be like I would do this, and then I would say st, and then I would say I'm gonna undo this here in a second, but st dictionary, and then I would say, which maybe okay, so maybe it makes sense to, instead of having that, we probably set st. So now I have two identical, right? So now this is, yeah, basically. Um, so now I have two identical functions that basically just have, because now that, yeah, basically I would just change all of these to match up with the new things. And that's good, but maybe it makes more sense to, instead of having a whole function like this, to pass in another thing that says, you know, the property string, and then um, that logic gets handled. I think that gets just as weird too, though. I don't know what to do about this. I think this is a really interesting problem. And I'm definitely like sort of a pro developer sort of developer. So like I'm more concerned about the developer experience than I am about the architecture being like exactly perfect. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna go from here. But anyways, I guess what is next is, I don't. I guess it makes sense to do what to add the configuration aspect ratio here, or maybe not. I think maybe this is good enough. Um, I feel like maybe this is a good point to do a commit though. Let's look through our commit tree. So this basically, I guess in this tree, I created this new update layout, the whole layout, and then so it works, and I think it is I'm happy with this code. So I think this is an important time to do a commit, but I do have like that rule, which is probably a mistake, where now that I think about, where it's like, okay, everything has to be, yeah, I think it makes sense to go through the process of doing a commit. But before I do a commit, I need to get the unit tests up to 100%, and I have to get the end-to-end tests update. But you know what? I think end-to-end testing is going to be a lot easier to do now with that, and then what's going to happen is we're going to end up pulling all of this code out of here and putting it in its own thing. So yeah, so I think tomorrow I'm going to start unit testing this and try to move on to the next task. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.